Hey guys, I'm RNG Gamer. I play all my games randomly. Today we're going to talk about my Xbox 360 collection. It's one of my favorite consoles of all time. I have a ton of games for it, including pretty much all of the hidden gems and rare games, at least that I know of. Also, this console is really underpriced to collect for, so if you're looking to build up a collection, now is the time to collect for the Xbox 360. It has tons of great games on it that really aren't on like anybody's radar. So maybe you can learn what those are from watching this video and go out and pick them up before the price goes insane. I don't usually like movie tie-in games. They're usually notoriously bad, but this one's supposed to be really good, even though I've never played it. It's Quantum of Solace, and here's a look at the back of it. I think this is supposed to be like a third-person shooter. I'm not really sure, but some people that I really trust have told me that I have to play this game, so I picked it up when I could. Here's another one that I was sure was going to become like high-priced, and it might be one day. It's from an anime series that I've never seen, but the game's also supposed to be pretty good. Also never played it. My copy's also really, really dingy. It's Afro Samurai. And I'll show you the back of it, but it's like in bad shape. Holy crap, look at that. Hold on, let's see if I can do it. Look at this. Is it scraping off? Yeah, it is. Look, it's just rubbing off. It's like covered in like a chalky substance. I don't know what this is. I found this at a pawn shop not that long ago, and I think they like maybe tried to wipe it down with some sort of cleaning product that like left a residue on there. I'll see what I can do about getting it off. I'll set it to the side right now. I think it's a hack and slash game. Let me know in the comments if Afro Samurai is any good. This is one of the few Cave releases that came out in North America. In case you didn't know, Cave are like the masters of the modern shmup. Akai Katana. This just got a release on the Nintendo Switch, but it's really just a port of this version of the game. And Akai Katana is like one of Cave's only horizontally scrolling shmups, and I think it's pretty good. It's not one of their best. It's really fun to look at, but the mechanics are a little obtuse and overly complicated. The sequel to this one just got announced, and sadly it's going to be digital only. It's like the first big AAA game that's not coming out physically, and I can't believe it because I was looking forward to it because I really loved this game. It's Alan Wake. This is a survival horror action game where you play as this writer named Alan Wake who's kind of, I guess he has like amnesia and all this crazy stuff's going on. All these like shadow monsters are trying to attack him, and the gameplay really centers around like you have to shine your flashlight at these enemies before you can take them down with your gun. And I thought it was a really fun game, very suspenseful, had a great story. I'm bummed that the sequel's not coming out physically. Maybe some company out there will jump in and like take care of that. Or better yet, remedy that? That was a good dad joke. Remedy's the company that put the game out, guys. I thought that was really good. If you're enjoying the content thus far, consider subscribing to the channel, hitting the like button, leaving me a comment down below. I answer like every one of them. And hit that bell notification so you get notified when the new videos come out. They come out every Saturday. This is one I picked up really cheap at GameStop. It's done by Obsidian. I've never played this. I don't know much about it, but I think it's kind of like maybe an action RPG. It's Alpha Protocol, and apparently I paid about $3 for it. Here's the back of the case. I haven't really played many games by Obsidian. I know they did like Fallout New Vegas, but I haven't played that either. So is Alpha Protocol any good? Let me know down in the comments. I don't really like cell phone games. I know a lot of gamers out there really don't. I played this one on like my buddy's phone when we were at Disney World one time, and I kind of liked it and I wanted to pick it up. So when I saw that it came out physically on the Xbox 360, I picked it up, although I haven't really played through it much since back then. And it's Angry Birds Trilogy. I mean, if you guys don't know what Angry Birds is, you must have been living under a rock. You just like fling these birds with a slingshot into some structures and try to knock the structures down and destroy all the little pigs that are in there. It's pretty mindless fun. I think I grabbed this for like $1. Here's one from FromSoft. That's hard to say FromSoft. This is their other franchise outside of the Dark Souls series. And this one is called Armored Core For Answer, which is a terrible title and doesn't really make much sense. I've never really been able to get into the Armored Core games. I'm not really like a big mech combat gamer. I don't like all the picky fiddling with like loadouts and arms and legs and switching out weapons and stuff. Like every person in the world, I think mechs are cool. I just kind of want to like run around and shoot with them. I don't really want to like spend my time min-maxing my stats and stuff. And the Armored Core series is kind of like known for that. But maybe the new one that's coming out in the next year or so will change my mind about it. This is a game that's trying to like jump on the Gears of War franchise. It was like a co-op third-person shooter game. I played this with my friend. I don't even remember much about it, although we did beat it over a weekend. It's Army of Two. This game really just tries to like go really hard. I don't know any other way to put it. Like, the characters are all like super scruffy with low voices, and they're mean, and they're overly violent, and they have to like say profanity all the time and just they just try too hard. It's a try hard game. And I don't remember the mechanics being that great or like it being that fun. Like Gears of War is a lot better, but you know, I picked this up really cheap at GameStop somewhere, I'm sure, and you know, we spent a weekend playing it. I was intrigued about this one when it came out, and I played it, and I thought it was a really decent game. It's Assassin's Creed. I'm not even going to show the back of the box. Everybody knows about Assassin's Creed. Let me tell you my personal story about Assassin's Creed. So in case you don't know, you play as this character, and he's like from the modern day or in the near future, and they like stick him in this machine which scans his DNA, and he has like DNA memory of his ancestors, and they crawl through his ancestors' memories. And in this one, it takes place in like the Crusades around Jerusalem and things like that, and they're trying to unlock and uncover information about these relics called the Pieces of Eden. Every person I've ever met in every review complains about Assassin's Creed, and they hate the parts that take place in the modern day, and they're like, I just want to play the stuff that takes place back in the historical times. I'm exactly the opposite. I'm like, that's just a dream. I like the modern day stuff. I'm like the only one that feels that way. I was like, why are we derailing this really interesting plot about uncovering these pieces of Eden by like going back in time? Although, over time, I did really grow to love it. And I loved the Assassin's Creed franchise for a while, but it really burned itself out. However, I think the highlight of the series is right here. Assassin's Creed 2 is the best Assassin's Creed game. I don't care what anybody says. Ezio Auditore was a great character. It was a really fun setting. I enjoyed it a lot. It was more of the same, but they kind of perfected it. And honestly, the story in this really like blew my mind. I thought it was fantastic. I think I gave this like a 10 out of 10 when I played it. So Ubisoft, knowing that they struck gold with Ezio Auditore and Assassin's Creed 2, decided to milk the franchise and do even more games with them. The second one, coming off the first one where I was super pumped about it, I got the limited edition, and it's Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. And this is a pretty big box here. I believe this took place in Venice, Italy. Great game, not quite as good as the first one in the series, Assassin's Creed 2, but pretty nice. This collector's edition has like a jack in the box in it, which I thought was pretty cool, although it's like cheap as hell, as you can imagine. So like when you turn the crank to make it pop open, it feels like it's going to shatter into a million pieces. So I didn't want to pull it out. It's probably even like more brittle than it was like 10 years ago or something when I put it back in the box. And the third game in the Ezio Auditore trilogy was, I thought, about as good as the second game in the trilogy, but you could feel it kind of trailing off. And that's Assassin's Creed Revelations. Ezio's an older man at this point. You can tell from the gray in his beard, it's similar to mine. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I was hyped for whatever was coming next in the Assassin's Creed series. Unfortunately, that game was Assassin's Creed 3. You start off playing, it's like, I guess, around the American Revolution. You start off playing as this guy on this ship. I thought it was really interesting. come to bait and switch you. Turns out he's the bad guy, and the character you play as is named Connor, and Connor's not a very good protagonist. I just thought he was like uninteresting and not very much fun. If you got to play as the bad guy the whole time, or if he had been the main character, it would have been a much more interesting game. But this is the one that introduced like sailing around in the ships and doing like the naval battles and having all your crew members sing like sea shanties and stuff. That was really cool. Sailing around was great, but the main story, like running around like Revolutionary War period United States, was not great because all the buildings are really short. Like, they're like one-story farmhouses. Like, how much fun are you going to have in an Assassin's Creed game where it's built around like climbing up stuff when all the buildings are like 15 feet tall? I felt like I was spending all my time like running around in fields or like jumping from tree to tree or something. It was kind of lame. This was in a recent pickups video. I have not played it. It's Attack of the Movies 3D. It looks like it's basically just your average kind of light gun shooter, but it comes with those lame 3D glasses that are like red on one side and blue on the other. I don't know how that's going to look on a modern TV. Metal Jesus had this on one of his videos and I had to pick it up. It was like, I think I paid 10 or 12 bucks for it. The cover of this game makes it look a lot better than it is. And it's Battle Fantasia. This looks like some sort of awesome RPG. But you'd be wrong. It's a flippin' like fighting game. It's a one-on-one fighting game where you kind of have these like weird computer animated characters. They don't look very good and the mechanics are very simple but kind of like janky. This is a budget game forever and ever, and I don't know if it's worth anything now, but I haven't seen it in years. I never hear anybody mention this game, so who knows, maybe it'll be rare one day. I don't know. Fighting games can get kind of pricey, but they kind of can stay bargain barrel levels because they, you know, suck. Just did a review of the third game in this series on my channel, I think in the last video. I love this game. It blew my mind when it came out, and I was like one of the first people in the whole world, or maybe the country, I don't know, that got like 1,000 gamer score on this. I did it like in the first day or two. And it's Bayonetta. Fantastic third-person action game similar to Devil May Cry, but with like a better character and honestly a much cooler like art style. So I don't have enough good to say about Bayonetta. Bayonetta 3 on the other hand. This is the first game I ever played in this series and I love this series. I think it's fantastic. It's beautiful Katamari. If you've never played a Katamari game before, the premise is really simple. You're the prince of the universe, of course, and you have this Katamari ball that is like super magnetic. And you start rolling it, and as you do, it gains more and more gravity. So first off, you start rolling up small things like pencils and dominoes and dice and things like that, and it gets bigger, and then you start like rolling up chairs and couches and TVs, and then you're rolling up whole houses and then whole neighborhoods and then whole towns and planets and galaxies. Of course, like your basic game. But it's really charming. It has great music and the environments are really fun. You're like in houses and, you know, neighborhoods and things like that. And I just love the Katamari series. It's really laid back and relaxing. Can't recommend it enough, and you have to try out beautiful Katamari if you haven't yet. Right when the flippin' Xbox 360 came out, Burger King decided to do this promotion where like if you bought a Whopper and a fry or something, you could spend $5 and get an Xbox 360 game, and there were 3 of them. This is one of them. It's Big Bumpin', starring the Burger King King, who is very disturbing. I don't think anybody really liked him. And this is just like, I've never played it. It's a kart racer? Is it a kart racer? I don't know. Is it a kart racer? Let me know down in the comments. I'll get to it one day. It's in the backlog. This one I tried to get through and just couldn't do it. I thought it was really lame. It's Binary Domain. This was like a third-person shooter where you're like shooting against these robots or cyborgs or something. And I didn't find the story to be particularly good. And I felt the weapons were really like little pea shooters, like they just didn't have any impact behind them, and shooting the robots was like lame. Like they just kind of, instead of like blowing apart or feeling like you were doing anything, they just kind of like crumbled down. Ugh. I didn't think it was a very good game. Whatever. Did you guys like Binary Domain? Was this decent? Was I wrong? I don't know. Let me know. This is one of the best games on the system. Everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. It's Bioshock. This is a first-person exploratory, I guess almost action survival horror game. You're in this underwater world called Rapture. It's one of the best environments I've ever seen in a game, and it's really just incredible. If you've never seen it before, at the time, no one had ever seen anything like it. We were all blown away. The gameplay's really fun. The story's amazing. It's a 10 out of 10 game. Bioshock 2, though, I don't think was made by the same development team. It's kind of more of the same, but this time around you get to play as like a big daddy, which is, you know, this big hulking monstrosity here you see on the cover. It was all right. I have to say, it was kind of losing me a little bit till we got to the end of the game where you got to see what the big daddy like saw through his eyes and this big grotesque world like he saw as beautiful. That was a really impactful part. That kind of raised the game up a little bit, in my opinion, which doesn't happen super often, where a game's kind of just like middling and all of a sudden something cool happens and bumps it up a notch. That definitely happened with Bioshock 2, and I do think you need to play this one as well. Here's one that everybody just kind of like pooped all over, but I thought it was like okay. It was a mediocre game, but it wasn't terrible. Bionic Commando. This is like a third-person action game with a grappling hook, and it's the pseudo-sequel to the like NES game Bionic Commando from when I was a little kid. I thought the gameplay in this was okay. The lamest part was that, like, I guess I'm going to spoil it. Spoiler here for Bionic Commando for all the one people that may play it because of this video. But the dude's bionic arm, it's his wife. So, like, they took the spirit of his wife and put it in the arm. I don't remember why, but it was like his body can't sync with the arm unless like the souls are linked or something. It's like really a dumb idea for a game. It was like completely unnecessary, right? But they did it. Capcom did that, and so that's what you get in Bionic Commando. But the gameplay was, I thought, decent enough for the era. This one I've never played. It's the pseudo-sequel to X-Blades, which you will see later. As GameStop was starting to like clear out their Xbox 360 stuff and getting rid of it, I went through and I thought of like all the games that I kind of wanted but never picked up that I thought might be rare and hard to find one day, and this was one of those games. I had to go from like GameStop to GameStop till I finally found one. And by one, I mean a copy of it. It's Blades of Time. Like every other game I've mentioned here recently, it's a third-person action game. It's like a hack and slash. I haven't played it, although I did play X-Blades, and I assume this is more of the same. They're definitely relying on the cute girl sort of thing to sell the game, although like they didn't sell many copies of it. But this one will be pricey one day. It's already pricey on the PS3, I believe, so I hold out hope that it goes up in value on the Xbox 360. But I only paid a couple bucks for it. This is from like a popular fighting game series from Axis Games. People call it Blazblue. I always call it Blazblue. I don't know. Let me know how I'm wrong. But here it is. It's Calamity Trigger. It's the first one in the series. I'm not super great at fighting games. I'm not terrible at them. I'm not competitive or anything, but I can like usually beat them, you know, on hard or so, like against the computer. This one was fun, but it was the first super modern fighting game I'd ever played, and like it just had a lot of mechanics, like different gauges and limit breaks and crazy bars and stuff that I never really got the hang of it, you know, more or less. But I did play through it like as every character, and I got most of the trophies or achievements, I think. But I thought it was a decent enough game, and the standard edition just came in this box when it originally came out. I thought that was kind of cool. This is done by Games Workshop. They're the same people that do like Warhammer and stuff like that. They have a board game called Blood Bowl, which is like American football. They put out an Xbox 360 version of it. Here it is, Blood Bowl. You play as like humans and orcs and goblins and things like that, and it's really almost like a tactical, oh man, I want to say RPG. It's not an RPG, it's just a tactical football game where you take turns, but the rules to this are hard. Like, I've never played Blood Bowl, the board game, before. I was overwhelmed with this and like not really able to make much progress. It's just too hard for me. I don't know. I like American football, but this just didn't do it. Sorry. Like, I wanted to love it, but I was just like really overwhelmed with all the mechanics and rules. It's a tough game. There's a hidden gem first-person shooter from like the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era called Black. And people always talk about what a great game that is. Well, it had a sequel that nobody ever talks about, and that's Bodycount. This came out on the Xbox 360, and it's a first-person shooter just like you would expect. I've never played Black, and I haven't played Bodycount, but It's supposed to be pretty decent. This was like a budget game when it released, and I remember seeing it in a Best Buy for sale, and I did not know it was coming out, and I feel like I know like every game that's coming out, especially on the Xbox 360 back then, but this one just caught me off guard. I ended up picking it up at like a flea market for just a couple of bucks, but I'm waiting to get to it. I want to play Black first though. I loved this game when it came out, and the first one is the only one I loved. It's Borderlands. This is your standard like cooperative looter shooter, and this is back when I was playing things online. I played this, I got every achievement in the game. I really enjoyed it. I played all of the flippin' DLC and everything. I had a great time with it, I have to say, and I loved this game. But by the time this came out, which is Borderlands 2, I was completely burned out on the series already. Like one game in the series and I was like, I'd had my fill. In these series, you basically just like pick one of like 4 classes and you just run around doing like objectives, and it drops tons of guns like and armor like in Diablo, and you try to min-max your stats to get as powerful as possible and grab more and more and more loot. It has a lot of zany characters and some interesting humor, and I think back like in Borderlands 1 and 2, the humor was still pretty good. In Borderlands 3, and you can check out my review of that, it like the humor just like fell off the deep end. I was just like, this is like written by a 12-year-old, but it was still pretty good back then. And I liked this series a lot to begin with, like I said, but I think I'm done with Borderlands. There was like a lot of hype going into this when it came out. They did a lot of like neat trailers and stuff, and the game just sort of like petered out. Nobody bought it. I thought it was a decent game. It had some color, it had some really fun mechanics. It's Bulletstorm. You have like a grappling hook, lots of different weapons and different mechanics, and it's all about killing enemies as stylishly as you can by like doing these combos, like grapple hook an enemy into you and then like kick them into the air, and then they go into slow motion, and then you like shoot them, and then like maybe you uppercut them. I don't know. It was pretty fun. I thought it was a decent campaign. I don't remember if it had like an online mode or anything. If it did, I didn't play it. But they've re-released this like over and over and over again. Like it's come out on the PS4, it's come out on the Xbox One. Like they just keep putting it out hoping it's going to be a huge hit, and it just never is. But let me know what you think of Bulletstorm. I thought this was a pretty decent game, especially for the couple bucks I paid for it. This is a great one. This is one that like everybody's been clamoring for a re-release or like a sequel. I thought this game was a lot of fun. It's done by Rockstar. It's Bully. Bully is like Grand Theft Auto if you played as like a bratty, snotty kid at a private school. You like run around this school like beating up other kids. I guess you're the bully. And like going through missions, and the whole environment is really cool. I liked the small environment of just like this private school. I liked the main character. I liked the teachers. I liked the zaniness of it. I liked the mini games where you had to like dissect frogs and things like that. I thought it was a really cool game. I'm sad to see that like they haven't done more with this franchise, because I thought it was really fun. But it's hard to make a game with like bratty kids these days, right? This is an interesting one. This is one of the region-free shoot-'em-ups that were released in Japan on the Xbox 360. The Xbox 360 in Japan, they really pushed it to kind of be like the shooter, and not like first-person shooter, like shmup console, and it kind of sort of worked till Microsoft was like, we don't want that anymore. We want you to just put out like Gears of War. Nobody in Japan wanted that stuff, so it sort of stopped. But the Japanese market knew people around the world would want these games, and they didn't want to import like a Japanese Xbox 360, and back then things were still region locked. So they put out a bunch of cool shoot 'em ups that were region free. They'd work on any console, and I have them all here on the Xbox 360. This is one of them. It's Bullet Soul. Fantastic artwork on the cover, and I've mentioned this game before. They've re-released this on the Switch, and this game, its kind of claim to fame is that if you play the game the way it's supposed to be played, it's a pretty good challenge, trying to earn like a high score and stuff. However, if you pick some of the characters, or a couple of the characters, you can just sit in the middle of the screen and like hold down the fire button and just go all the way through the game. Like with no challenge, and nothing can hit you. Your shot is like the whole screen. So that kind of turned some people off. They did a revision of this game, and I can't remember what it's called. It's Bullet Soul, I think it's Infinite Burst, and it's like a $350 or $400 game on the Xbox 360. And it's, I believe, not region free. That one's not. I never picked it up, but it's on the Switch re-release bundled with this. So, Pretty cool. Excited to have that one. It was in one of my pickups videos. I haven't gotten to it yet. Check this one out if you like shoot 'em ups. I think it's a decent game. This was a bargain bin game forever, and it was like an early release on the system. I never picked it up, but it was one of those games like towards the end of the Xbox 360. I was like, I should get that because it might be expensive one day, and I don't know if it is, but I have a feeling like it might be. It's Bullet Witch. Now, I'm going to show you the back of this cover. It's not going to show you any gameplay. But you just play as this like sexy witch, and it's a third-person shooter where you run around and shoot and blow up stuff. And now maybe she has magic, I can't remember, or maybe her gun shoots magic bullets or something. I haven't played it yet. I've got a lot of games in my backlog, guys. I'm getting to them, I promise, but I want to play this one. Anyway, you unlock different outfits and you basically play dress up. There's tons of Japanese games like that. It's all about unlocking outfits. Same thing with Resident Evil. But Bullet Witch is supposed to be pretty decent, and I don't doubt that it might be expensive one day. I just noticed it had a reversible cover. Here you go. So here's the back of it. You can kind of see what it looks like. There we go. I realized that was published by Atari. That's weird. I did not play this when it came out. I saw my friends play it. I thought it looked really decent. I didn't get around to it till about like 2 or 3 years ago. Everybody knows this game. It's Call of Duty for Modern Warfare. You know what Call of Duty is. I'll show you the back. It's a first-person shooter. I never played this online. I only played the campaign. I thought the campaign in this was really good. I loved the campaign in this, especially like the sniper level that everybody always talks about. Great. The Call of Duty games have fun campaigns. If you just pick them up for a couple bucks, it's totally worth it. This one, however, I went to the midnight release for and got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. More of the same. I loved the campaign in this. I beat it on like the veteran difficulty, the hardest difficulty, had a good time with it. I did play this one online. This is one of the only games I've ever played the online portion of. Like competitively online, I was okay at it. You gotta practice those a lot, and I didn't have much practice, but I thought this was a fantastic game. I really enjoyed this one. This is the last and only game in the Call of Duty series that I ever picked up new. All the others I just got on like clearance when they were just a couple bucks. This one I tried out, and I found the campaign in this one not to be very good and kind of hard and unbalanced, and like the enemies just throw grenades at you nonstop. It's Call of Duty World at War. I don't know, this one just didn't do it for me. And there you go. That's all the Call of Duty games I have on this system, guys. So that was quick, only 3 games. This is another one that people like to crap all over, and I thought it was okay. Yeah, it changed up the gameplay style, but I thought it was fairly decent. It's Castlevania Lords of Shadow. And this took like the Castlevania franchise and set it in a Devil May Cry world. And I thought like the Devil May Cry combat was fun, it was okay, it was entertaining, but the boss fights kind of like took inspiration from Shadow of the Colossus, and you'd have to like scale these huge behemoths to take them down, and that was a lot of fun. I really liked that. I can't complain too much. I enjoyed this one. I enjoyed it so much I picked up the sequel, Lords of Shadow 2. This one was even more divisive than the first one, and people really didn't like it. You get to play as Dracula in this one. Hint, hint. Anyway, I haven't gotten to this one yet. I picked it up, like I said, when the Xbox 360 was like clearing out from all the stores and stuff, and I grabbed it for a few bucks. But it was still a little expensive at the time. I think it was about 15 or 17 bucks, even like at the end of the Xbox 360's life cycle. I loved this game. I really enjoyed it. It's one of the few games I wish I had gotten the collector's edition of. I did pre-order this, and it came with a bunch of like swag, like art books and postcards and stuff that I have around here somewhere. I'm not gonna pull all that stuff out, but it's Catherine. You play as like a 30-year-old, which is nice, and he's like kind of seeing 2 different girls. There's Catherine with a C that is his fiance, and then Catherine with a K, who is that girl right there. And all the guys in like Japan that are cheating on their spouses are put through these trials every night, and it's like a puzzle block pushing game, which is really crazy. You can see there, you're trying to like climb to the top of this tower, and if you fall, you die in real life. And this is part of like the Shin Megami Tensei series, like, you know, from Persona fame. I thought this was a really fun game. It was a breath of fresh air. It's been re-released on the Switch with some more content. I have that as well. Maybe I'll dive into that and play it one day, but really liked this game. This is the sequel to a game on the original Xbox that everybody said was amazing, and then I had to pick this up and play both versions of it, and I tried them out. It's the Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena. These are like a first-person stealth action game, I guess. You get to play as Vin Diesel, as Riddick from the famous, or the semi-famous, or not the famous, the cult classic Chronicles of Riddick movies. And I believe this is like canon with those movies. Like, this is part of that story. But he can see in the dark when like nobody else can see in the dark, and he sneaks up and murders people, whatever the case. I didn't think it was that great. I kind of didn't like the sneaking around, and I don't mind stealth, but I felt the levels were a little obtuse. I don't know, I just couldn't get into this one. Is this one I need to go back and replay, or these two games I need to go back and replay? I put some hours into them, but I don't think I finished either one of them. Let me know down in the comments if I need to go back and revisit these. This is another one from Soft. from Soft. It's kind of a spin-off of the Armored Core series we mentioned earlier. This is like an online-only sort of game. It's called Chrome Hounds, and you basically play as like giant tank mechs. The servers, of course, are down for this, but I played it with bots, and it was like, fine, you know, whatever. This was not a big hit. It kind of flopped, and it was an earlier game on the Xbox 360, and I picked this up for just a couple of bucks because I liked FromSoft, but this is not one you need to play. This was another early release on the system. It's a survival horror game that I think it's supposed to be like decent, not great. Once again, picked it up at the end of the Xbox 360's life for a few bucks. It's Clive Barker's Jericho. It says what it is right on the back, right? Intense first-person action. It's a first-person horror shooter. These were really popular around the time. Lots of games like Fear, things like that. You know, spooky shooters is what we should call them. Anyway, never played this. I'm kind of looking forward to it. At the time, I didn't really like survival horror games, but now I'm a big fan, so maybe I'll be able to appreciate this since I avoided it when it first came out. I've never played any of the games in this series. I know the first one's notorious for just like being impossible to run on any computer, but this is Crysis 2. It looks like it's just your standard, you know, first-person shooter from the time period. There were tons of these. I don't know how this one stands out other than just like the graphics are supposed to be good. I'll get to it one day. When this first came out, people told me I needed to get it. I was a semi-professional like Magic the Gathering player, so everybody's like, this game will be right up your alley. So I picked it up. It's Culdcept Saga. This is like a tactical RPG where the combat is like, you know, like a CCG, like Magic or Pokemon. And even to this day, I get comments in these videos asking me if I've played Culdcept Saga. Apparently it has a ton of fans out there. I have to say, guys, I did not get the mechanics of this. I couldn't even get through the tutorial. This is one of those like games that kind of, I'm sure I didn't play it right. I must have missed something, but I want to go back and replay this. I added it back into the backlog to give it another shot. So I'm going to retry it when it gets picked for me, but I've never played a game that made me feel as stupid as this one did. Like I couldn't even get through the tutorial. So maybe I'll figure out what I did wrong this time around. This is another one of those that I was sure was going to be hard to find because it was done by Atlas. That's like a surefire way to know that something's going to be expensive. But it's the Cursed Crusade. And you can see here on the back what this is. I mentioned this game in a video I did called like the top 10 times I got stuck in a video game, and this was one of them. You basically play as like a crusader, you know, from the Middle Ages who's cursed, like by a demon or something like that. But I got to a part in this game where like I could not progress. An autosave locked me towards the end of the game, and there's just no way to go any further. And I was really annoyed by that. A lot of these budget games have buggy crap in them like that, and this is no exception. And I'm frustrated with it. Up to that point, I thought it was like an okay, like maybe a 5 or a 6 out of 10 kind of game, but good enough to finish. And I put like hours into it, and I'm bummed that I didn't get to finish it because it's stupid buggy bullcrap. All right, I've been waiting to talk about this. If you were to ask me what game I would like bet the farm on that it's going to be like rare and expensive and hard to find one day, this would probably be like my top pick. It's Darkest of Days. Even when this was new, you couldn't find it anywhere. You basically play as like a soldier from the future or maybe from the past. I can't remember. You get teleported to the future. This government entity is going to like send you back in time with modern weapons, and your job is to like kill specific people, and you go back to like Gettysburg and like Revolutionary War time battles and all these different battles through history with like machine guns and like laser rifles and stuff. But there are these people on the battlefield that are like glowing yellow, and those are historically significant people. You're not allowed to touch them or interact with them or you'll change the course of history. But you're able to just kill like, you know, Johnny Joe Blow over there in the corner, you know, to make some stock in the future go up. Anyway, I thought this was like a really interesting game. I got all 1,000 achievement points for it. There's an achievement for punching a horse in the face. You go to like Custer's Last Stand and like all these horses are running around and you just like cold cock this horse as it's running by. It was really crazy. This is not a great game, but it's definitely a so bad it's good game, and it is a hidden gem. You need to play this game. There's nothing I've ever played like it. It is zany and off the wall, and I really like this game and I'd recommend it. I don't know how hard it is to find. It was hard to find when it was new. It took me like months of looking to find this when it was supposed to be readily available. I had to like buy it off eBay for, you know, $10 or $15, which is like crazy at the time. I was paying like $2 for games. But Darkest of Days, that's my bet right there. I'm betting on this game to be rare and obscure. This was another early release on the system. It's kind of like a horror action stealth game where you get possessed by a demon and you have like these weird claws coming out of your back. I passed on it when it came out. But like I said, I picked it up at the end of the Xbox 360's life cycle because I wanted to have it. It's the darkness. And like I said, it's in first person like every game was then. And I think you like play as a hitman for the mafia, like I said, who now is possessed by this demon and you're trying to get revenge on the mafia because they like killed your wife. I'm guessing that plot based on nothing, but I would also bet that I'm right. For some reason, that plot just seems right for a game I haven't played and haven't thought about in like 13 years. If you asked me to pick like the most mediocre, forgettable, just generic, middle-of-the-road game ever, this is the game that pops into my mind. It's Dark Sector. I remember picking this up when it came out, and it was $7. You play as this, you know, dude, some dude, and you like throw boomerangs. It's a first-person shooter, but God, it's so incredibly forgettable. I remember forgetting it more than I remember the gameplay. I remember being in an area with like a lot of concrete and like warehouses and stuff. It was an okay game. It was like a 6 or 7 out of 10. That's all I have to say about it, man. Does anybody remember this game? Like I played it and I was trophy hunting or achievement hunting at the time, and I got like a lot of the achievements, most of them or all of them. And I just have like no memory of the game. It's weird. I think about how I don't remember anything about this game all the time. I played the first game in this series on the PS3 and got all the trophies and thought it was a pretty decent little Zelda clone. I've picked up every game in the series since then and have not played any more of them. They just haven't been picked off the backlog. But it's Darksiders 2. It has a really cool like holofoil cover to it. I don't know why I picked this one up on the Xbox 360. When I played the first one on the PS3, maybe I got this really cheaply or something, but just like the first game, you play as one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. This time it's Death, and I'm sure it's more of the same. It's like a 3D Zelda clone. We'll get to it one day. Oh man, this one changed me as a gamer. This game blew my mind. I played the first game in the series, Demon Souls, when it came out, so I was really anticipating this, and I pre-ordered it so I could get the Steelbook edition. And then my GameStop sold it. They sold my copy. And they're like, oh, it's at some other GameStops. And I went from like every GameStop to every GameStop in town, and they were all sold out. So I ended up at one GameStop like out in the ghetto, and they had like 1 million copies of it. But it's Dark Souls. And this is, like I said, the thick Steelbook edition. Everybody knows what Dark Souls is. This is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece kind of game. Prepare to die. I don't see this version of the game around much anymore. At the time, it was pretty common, but like, you just don't see it. So, I know everybody loves Dark Souls. I love Dark Souls, and I'm glad to have this one. It looks really good on the shelf, and I like prominently display this over there. And of course, I was excited for this. Although I think it's the worst one in the series, it's still like a pretty good game. An 8 out of 10 or so. Dark Souls 2, and this is the Black Armor Edition, which is a steelbook itself, right? Now my complaint about this is that this is like embossed, like it sticks out. So when you put it on the shelf, it like leaves a gap because the embossing like puts a little buffer between it and the game next to it. Still a good series. I don't think like this was done by the same development team. I think that Bandai... Insert the clip. I think that Bandai Namco had like a different development team that worked on this one. It feels like markedly different from the other Dark Souls games. What I remember about this is that my oldest daughter was just like a baby at the time, and I remember sitting with her in my lap, and she like couldn't even sit up at the time, playing this game, and there was this one boss I was stuck on and like trying over and over and over and over again to beat, and she was sleeping in my lap, and she kicked the Xbox 360 controller out of my hand right before I was about to beat the boss. And the batteries came out of the controller and I ended up dying. And it took me like another 15 attempts after that to get him. But I always tell her that. And I'll always think about this. My youngest daughter was born right around the time Elden Ring came out. So first daughter was born when Dark Souls 2 came out. Youngest daughter when Elden Ring came out. I'll always remember that. Those are some good memories. This is another one of these games that had like a ton of hype when it was coming out, and it put out maybe the best trailer I've ever seen for a game. And then apparently the game didn't do anything like the trailer mentioned, and everybody was really upset about it. It's Dead Island. I don't remember when this came out. It came out in 2011. Dead Island 2 just came out like shortly before the filming of this video. So 12 years people have been waiting for the sequel to this game. This is an open world zombie survival hack and slash first person game. I've never played any of the games in the Dead Island series. I'll get to it one day. I also have Dead Island Riptide on the PS3, and I don't know if it's like the definitive version of this, or if it's like a pseudo sequel, or if it's a DLC pack, or what. Do I need to play it and this one, or can I just play Riptide and like forget about this? Let me know which one I need to do down in the comments. I bought an Xbox 360 when it came out, and I got this game with it, and I hated it so much I returned it in the Xbox 360. But a few months later I decided I wanted to get an Xbox 360 again, so I went and bought another one, and I picked this game up just for nostalgia reasons, but I never liked this game. It's Dead Rising. I know a lot of people are really into this because it's like, you kill millions of zombies. Look at the back of that. I never really enjoyed it. I hated the boss fights. I have gone back and tried to play this game like 3 or 4 more times, and I just hate the boss fights so much that I can't like put up with the rest of it. I also hate time limits in games, and this game's like on a constant time limit the whole time. You'll do some crap like, you'll get a phone call like, you need to go over here and save these people, and then on the way someone else will call you on the opposite side of the map that are like, you need to go save them, and you can't save both. There's a time limit on each one of them, and I hate that stuff in games. It like makes me super stressed. I just don't want to do it. So I've never been able to get into the Dead Rising games. Sorry. I wish I could. I love zombie stuff. This one just got a remake that everybody's loving. Like, a lot of people are saying it might be Game of the Year. I don't know. I haven't played that. I only played this like a couple of years ago, and I thought it was pretty decent. It's Dead Space. This is one of the last true survival horror games, according to a lot of people. You play as Isaac, this engineer on this derelict spaceship where all these like demon monsters are running around, and you have to like shoot apart their limbs and stuff with various engineering weapons. I thought it was really cool and a lot of fun and great atmosphere. It's a great game, and I'm glad they remade it, and some younger people that didn't get to play it on the Xbox 360 are having an opportunity to play it now on other consoles. And I believe this is like, was this exclusive to the Xbox 360? I don't think it was on the PS3. I know it wasn't on the Wii. At least I think maybe Dead Space Extraction, like a light gun game, was on the Wii, but this was only on the Xbox 360. Interesting. Didn't think about that. Dead Space 2, on the other hand, did come out on the PS3, and I have it over there. Dead Space 3, flip-flop back, I have it on the Xbox 360. I've never played this. By all accounts, Dead Space just gets more and more and more action-oriented every game it goes into, and it kind of gets away from the whole survival horror sort of thing. You can see when I picked this up, 2013. 10 years ago. It's been in the backlog for 10 years. It's amazing. How depressing. This is a game I never heard of. I never knew it came out. I don't know when it came out. I've never seen it anywhere else. I was in a game store and they just had this, and I was looking in their Xbox 360 section, which I normally don't do because I have like everything I want, but I saw this and I was like, what is this game? What is it? I know nothing about it. It's called Deadfall Adventures, and mine is sealed for From the back of this, it looks like an Uncharted, like a Nathan Drake kind of rip-off game. And sorry that the sealed cellophane, guys, is making this hard to see. This was $20. I know nothing about this game. I can't believe that there was an Xbox 360 game that I didn't know about, and I picked this up just a couple years ago. It looks like it was a really late release, like it came out after the Xbox One and the PS4 were already out. So let me know about this one. Like, is this any good? Does anybody know about it? Does anybody have any information about it? It says it's done by like Nordic Games. So I don't know what the deal is with that. Let me know. This is one of my most surprising games I've ever played. When this came out, all the reviews were either giving it like a 1 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. And some people say it's like one of the best games of all time, and some people say it's like one of the worst games of all time. It looks like garbage. The character animations are terrible. The game does not play well. It controls really poorly. It has a lot of clunky controls that make it not fun, but it is so charming and unlike anything I've ever played, and the story is so interesting that it elevated all that other crap to make this like a masterpiece level game. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's true. It's Deadly Premonition. I have never played any other game like this. It's a survival horror game, and it's like Twin Peaks. You play as this guy over here, and he goes to this small town where craziness is happening. You know, there's a serial killer and a series of murders. You have to investigate it, and it is bizarre. Everything about it is bizarre. The main character has like split personalities, and he talks to himself, and there's all this like weird dialogue where you're driving around where he talks about movies, and it's strange. The characters are insane. It's Deadly Premonition. Like, you have to play this. This is a must-play game, especially if you like survival horror games or just quirky games. This is a must-play. They just released it on the Switch maybe a year or two ago, and that version is supposed to be better. Maybe it plays better. I remember this game, there being a real lack of ammo that made the game tense, and I think in the Switch version you have like unlimited ammo, or like abundant ammo. So decide which one you want. You want the jankier and possibly better version with limited ammo, or the easier version that maybe runs better on the Switch. Great game. If any of you played this, let me know how you felt about it down in the comments. Did you love it or did you hate it? Because there's nobody in the middle that I've ever met. We have another game from Cave, the shoot 'em up masters, that was released in North America. I thought this game would be like very rare when it came out, but it seems to be fairly common, although it's a little pricey. This is my favorite side-scrolling shoot 'em up of all time. It's Death Smiles. It's like this weird Halloween-themed, like gothic Lolita kind of game. It is really fun and really unique, and this comes with like an Xbox 360 faceplate. I'll let you see it. I'll take it out of the box. Here you go. This was on the front of my Xbox 360 for years, and I finally took it off because it started getting a little pricey. And I didn't want, like, these things scratch pretty easily. I didn't want my daughter to scratch it up. But I was able to get the 1 credit clear in this game, and I love Death Smiles. I think it's fantastic. They've re-released it on the PS4 and the Switch. I think PS4, yeah. Anyway, I bought it along with Death Smiles 2 in like a bundle. So this is just shelf candy now, but I really did love Death Smiles, and like I said, I thought this was going to be very rare. I think it's gotten a little pricey, but it's not as bad. I thought this was going to be like a $300 collector's edition one day, and it's maybe worth like 70 or 80 bucks. I think I paid 40 for it, so with inflation, I probably lost money. The first time I ever skipped a class in college was to go pick up Devil May Cry 1 on the PlayStation 2. And I played for like 30 minutes and I had to go to the bathroom, and when I got back, my roommate was playing it, and he proceeded to just beat the entire flipping game, and I never played it again. So I didn't play Devil May Cry 2, and I didn't play Devil May Cry 3. They're all back in the backlog. But I did play Devil May Cry 4 when it came out, and this is the Steelbook edition. When I bought it at GameStop, they had like the Steelbook along with the other ones for the same price, so I got it. I thought this is a decent game. You play as Dante once again. There's nothing to look at on the back. Just more pictures of Dante, or not Dante. This is Dante. I forget who this is. Some little spoiled kid with a monster arm. Whatever the case, it's a Devil May Cry game. It's like a third-person hack and slash game. I remember the achievements being really tough for it. So I just like beat it and was done with it. I enjoyed Devil May Cry 5 a lot more than this on the PS4. So But I'm excited to go back to Devil May Cry 1 and 2 and 3 and try them out. I played the ever-loving crap out of this game. Like, I beat it over and over and over and over and over again, and then I got like the Reaper of Souls edition on the PS4 and like beat it over and over and over again. Part 4 of this, the sequel, just released this last week. I'm waiting to decide if I want to get it or not. But it's Diablo 3. It came out on the PC originally. It got some kind of like bad press based on, you know, some of the microtransaction stuff. But when they brought it over to consoles, they had fixed a lot of that stuff. But it's Diablo. It's an action RPG in an isometric view with a lot of loot. It's a lot of fun. It's really addictive, and I enjoyed this. Arcane Studios put this game out. I've mentioned them before. They have failed to make a game I've enjoyed. I've played a bunch of them. I tried playing this. Everybody said this is like one of the cool new franchises that's going to change up gaming. I didn't think the game was very good. I just couldn't get into it. It's Dishonored. I played it about 6 or 7 hours. It's a stealth action game where you're sneaking around trying to assassinate people. There you go. You have all these different abilities, and they basically just give you like these open environments and a lot of like tools and mechanics, and it's like you figure out how to assassinate the guy. I'm just not like creative enough to do it. Like, I can't figure out what to do half the time. I'm like, I kept getting caught, and when I'd assassinate people, I was like, I felt like I just got lucky. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't really like the characters and the environment. And I've played other games by Arcane Studios. Like, they haven't made a game I like yet. I don't know, there's something about it. This is a game I never hear anybody mention. It's pretty obscure. You know, like the Divinity Original Sin games? Well, this has nothing to do with those. This is Divinity 2 Eco Draconis. And this is the Best Buy pre-order edition. I don't know what makes that special, but this is like a Elder Scrolls Oblivion / Skyrim kind of ripoff. This game was hard to find like when it came out, and this Best Buy edition I've never seen anywhere else. I don't know if this is rare or hard to find these days. I know this is not supposed to be a great game, and big open world RPGs that are not very good are usually pretty miserable to play. So I'm excited to dive into this one. I found this at a thrift store that usually never has anything, and this is one of the only games I've ever gotten there. But this has been in the backlog a long time. Years, over a decade. I basically picked this up because it has Doom 1 and 2 on the disc, like original Doom. It's the Doom 3 BFG edition. I played Doom 3 a bit on the PC when it came out in college, and just like never really got into it. I want to dive back into it and play it again. I did play Doom 1 on here and beat it, and I played Doom 2, which I've never beaten. Like, I think the level design of that game is not very much fun. But Doom 3 I've yet to finish. I need to go through and do it. So it's still in the backlog. I'll get to it one day. But it is cool that they included both those games on disc. Here's a series I really want to love, but like I just also can't get into it, even though I love like high fantasy, medieval sort of RPGs. It's Dragon Age Origins. This is another BioWare game, similar to like Knights of the Old Republic and Mass Effect. This is their fantasy version of those games. Dungeons and Dragons stuff. And like, I like these sort of games, but I just don't like BioWare games that much. I don't like the dialogue trees and having to chat and build up my character and stuff. I just find their mechanics to not be that fun. Sorry. Like, we got into this like before another one of these videos, that the BioWare games, I'm just kind of like, okay, whatever. I really tried to like this one and just couldn't do it. Let me know if you liked this one a lot. I felt it was kind of mediocre. Here's the game that took like 13 years to come out. Everybody was waiting on it, and then it was a big disappointment because it had like 50 developers. Duke Nukem Forever. You could buy this game for about $5 6 months after it came out, which is when I got it. I paid like $5 for this brand new, and I thought it was about a 7 out of 10. I did not think it was a great game. I did not think it was a terrible game. The humor was like crude and kind of like old-fashioned, but the environments were sort of fun, and it had some neat gameplay ideas that it didn't really execute very well, but I didn't mind my time with it. I beat it. I thought it was all right. So Duke Nukem Forever is like not a must play, and it's not a must avoid. If you happen to play it, like, I think you'll think it's all right. That's all we could ask for, right? Here's another cave shooter. This is another region-free import. This one's getting hard to find these days. This is Dodon Pachi Saidaiojo. It has a terrible front cover on it, but this is like your manic bullet hell shooter, just like you would expect. And I did one credit clear this, probably on like easy or so. I'm not really great at the Dodon Pachi games, but I think these are really fun. I think you need to get every cave shooter ever, this included. I'm sure this is pricey now. I had to import it from Japan, and I paid a pretty penny. I think I paid $70 for it or something like 6, 7, 8 years ago. Here's another Dodon Pachi game. This is Dodon Pachi Dai Fukatsu. This got a European release, which I imported. They call it Dodon Pachi Resurrection in Europe. You can see here the Peggy label. This is more of the same. This is considered to be like the worst in the Dodon Pachi series, but it is another one of these like bullet hell shmups. And this one, like I said, has English, which is nice. People are down on this one, but it is gaining in popularity. And this was just released on the Nintendo Switch, I believe. Like Limited Run Games, I think, did a release of it. But it's just a port of this one. And I don't really like playing shmups on the Switch that much. So I stuck with the Xbox 360 version. But I won credit cleared this one again on easy. I'm not really great at the Dodon Pachi games. And they're not my favorite series, but I do like them a lot. So this is another one you need to pick up. And it's region free as well, even though it's from Europe. These I'm gonna lump all together. I did a review of one of these on the PS4. I played it with my daughter and it's just mindless, like bug killing fun. These are third person co-op like action games they're really budget oriented and they're kind of like a B movie where you're just shooting like hundreds of ants with like bazookas and machine guns and sometimes like nuclear missiles. But it's the Earth Defense Force series. Earth Defense Force 2017, which I think was maybe the first in the series. Sometimes there's big robots and stuff. Earth Defense Force Insect Armageddon. This one was a little bit different. I think this was done by like a different publisher, maybe. But this one I was able to get like every trophy for, or every achievement for. I did play this one online a good amount. Earth Defense Force 2025. More of the same. Shooting giant bugs. Check out my review of Earth Defense Force on the PS4. Those were all a lot of fun. I really like the Earth Defense Force games. I pick up pretty much any new one that comes out. They do have a bad habit of like re-releasing their games on like modern consoles with different titles. Look at like Earth Defense Force 4.3 and it's like this game re-released. They have different classes, like some have hover packs, some are heavily armored, some are more agile, but as you kill enemies they drop like health upgrades and weapon upgrades and you slowly like gain more and more powerful weapons to like I said, you end up with like nuclear missiles and stuff. And they're a lot of fun. They're mindless fun. They're all like 7-ish, 8-ish out of 10 kind of games. I've never played one that blew my mind, but I've always enjoyed my time with them. This is one of the few open world huge RPGs that I have 100% completed more than once. I 100%ed it on the PC, and then when it came out on the Game of Year edition for the Xbox 360, I picked it up and did it once again. It's Oblivion, Elder Scrolls 4, you know, the prequel to Skyrim, the game that keeps getting released. Really fun game. I enjoyed this. I loved the world. I loved the exploring. And I mentioned that I don't really like Bethesda games, but I loved this one. I really liked it a lot. That's been my favorite game in the Elder Scrolls series that I've played before. Of course, everybody else's favorite is this one. Skyrim, Elder Scrolls 5. Everybody knows this game. We're still waiting on it to be re-released, right, on your local refrigerator. They put Skyrim on like everything. The only game I know of that's been ported to more stuff is like the original Doom. Anyway, open world RPG. I really liked Skyrim as well, but not as much as Oblivion. Also, I encountered a bug on this one that prevented me from 100%ing the game. The Thieves Guild quest glitched out on me. The person I was supposed to go meet like fell through the world and I was not able to ever talk to them, and my previous save game was like 6 hours earlier, and at that point I was just kind of done with it. But I've never gone back and replayed Skyrim. I remember thinking it was a decent game, but like not nearly as good as Oblivion. This is another one I just know is going to be sought after and rare one day. It's already really pricey on the PS3, which means it's going to end up being pricey on the Xbox 360, because when the people can't get it on the PS3, they'll get it somewhere else. It's El Shaddai. And what is it? Ascension of the Metatron? Yes, I was right. Ascension of the Metatron. This is another like Devil May Cry style game where you play as Esau from the Bible in like an alternate reality. It has this weird like rock, paper, scissors sort of mechanic where you go into these battle arenas and you have 3 different weapons and you have to decide which weapon you want to use based off what the enemies are using. Really interesting, beautiful art style. I mean, it looks like this. Really cool mechanics and a very unique and different story. I've never really seen anything like it. I think this one's one to look out for if you have a chance to pick it up. Ninja Theory put this one out when it was announced. Like, I had no interest in playing it, and after it came out, like, the reviews were pretty decent for it. It's called Enslaved Odyssey to the West, and this is a retelling of that, like, you know, Chinese folk parable, like, Journey to the West. You basically play as this, like, hulking behemoth called Monkey, and you have to protect this girl. And so it's sort of like an escort quest all the way through the game. But she's pretty capable, and you don't really have to worry about her too much. She handles herself. And I thought it was a decent game. Andy Serkis from Gollum and Planet of the Apes fame, this is his company, and he does the voice actor he's the voice actor for Monkey. And the voice acting in this game is like the best you've ever heard. And I thought the story was really fun. It had a neat surprise twist ending, and I thought the combat was really nice too. We have another region-free shmup here. This one's kind of sought after, but they just announced they're re-releasing it. You can pick it up from, I think, Strictly Limited Games. Right now, it's out for pre-order. But it's Escatos. And this is kind of it's a unique take on a shoot 'em up. It's one long level in a way, and in another way it's like 100 small levels. Each stage is like just a really short concept that deals with a very simple mechanic. Maybe the first stage is like Galaga, and then the next one you gotta like dodge more, and then whatever. So you're building up your skills over time playing through these 100 or so stages. I thought it was really fun. The graphics are real chunky and kind of budget looking, but that's what they were going for. However, on here are two very rare and obscure Wonder Swan games, which are Judgment Silversword and Cardinal Sins. And they are fantastic shoot 'em ups. I was able to get the 1 credit clear on Judgment Silversword and Cardinal Sins. Cardinal Sins, like, every level is based on a different sin, so like greed, so the whole theme of the level is to grab as many like 1-ups as you can, or like sloth, and the goal is to like dodge everything but move as little as you can. It was really fun. And Judgment Silversword is like, for an 8-bit, maybe 16-bit, like handheld game, it's like a modern bullet hell shmup, and I thought they were really fantastic. So this is a great package. I don't know if the new one coming out has Judgment Silversword and Cardinal Sins on it, but I imagine it does. But this is a great package here. It's one of the best on the 360, and I'm glad to have it. This one also got a re-release on the Switch, but it's better on the 360. It's Esp Galuda 2. Man, that's a mouthful to say. This is another cave shoot 'em up. It's a vertical one this time. This one is like bullet hell personified. This has tons of training modes and easier modes, and a really cool like arrange mode. And if you guys know what an arrange mode is, it's like a remix of the game where they change the mechanics around to make it a little more fresh. I thought this was a really good like 8 out of 10 kind of shmup. I enjoyed it a lot. I got the 1 credit clear on it. Happy to have this one. I'm sure it's getting pretty pricey nowadays. I mentioned earlier that I bought Dead Rising when I first got my Xbox 360 and I hated it, so I returned my Xbox 360. Well, after I rebought it, the Xbox 360 that is, this is the game I picked up. It's Eternal Sonata, and this is a JRPG all the way. You play as Frederick Chopin, and he's on his deathbed, and he's having like a fever dream in which he's fighting these internal monsters, and there's all these characters that come to help him out. It's just an RPG like you would expect. However, it is like long worded. There is so much dialogue in this game. At the end of the game, this girl right here has like a long soliloquy where she just talks for like 45 minutes about, you know,
the nature of humanity and friendship is what I absorbed in myself, and I realized that the actualization of, you know.
I'm like, oh Lord, please stop. I don't need like a philosophical diatribe at the end of the game. I just spent all this time beating this boss. Just like, give me a happy ending. Of course, you know there's not a happy ending because Chopin died. We all know that, right? Who doesn't know that? It's like 150 years ago. I never played this on the original Xbox. I was happy when they renounced when they renounced the Xbox 360 version. It's Fable Anniversary. I kind of renounced this game. I think this game's not very good. I never played it, like I said, on the Xbox originally. Peter Molyneux, that designed this game, promised too much, and he did not deliver. And even me, who didn't know about any of the stuff he promised, I did not like this game. I played it after playing Fable 2 and 3, and like, this can't hold a candle to either one of those games, and a lot of people don't consider those games to be that great. Oh crap, I'm putting them all in reverse order. Ugh. Okay, hold on, time out. However, Fable 2 was the first Fable game I ever played, and I think I got every achievement in this, and I beat it 3 times with like all 3 different endings. I really liked this. I thought it was a really fun, quirky, humor-filled hack and slash action RPG. I liked the humor, I liked the gameplay style of it, and I thought it was a fantastic game. I don't know that I'd say it was like a 10 out of 10. Maybe I did at the time, I wouldn't now, but I really enjoyed my time with Fable 2. So I was really looking forward to Fable 3, and a lot of other people were too, and they were kind of disappointed by this game. And I have to admit, I was a little disappointed as well. I did not think it was as much fun, not by a long shot, and the end of this is strange. You basically, like, they say the last half of the game, it's really like the last, like, 30 minutes of the game. You basically become king of the realm, and the gameplay switches from, like, an action RPG to just like selecting choices. So like your advisor will walk up to you and be like, do you want to cure cancer or do you want to feed the homeless? And you pick one and you decide if you're going to be like a just king or like a jerk king. I think I was a just king this time around. The first game I was like a jerk for most of it and I was just like killing every NPC I saw. Normally I'm usually the good guy in video games, but I wanted to be the bad guy in Fable. So this time around I was the good guy. I just did a review of this on my Beating the Backlog series of videos for the 4th part in this series. I did not like it. I think I got all the achievements in this one. I thought it was just okay. It's Fallout 3. I know everybody loves this game. Like, it's basically Skyrim, but in a post-apocalyptic world. Everything's just so dark and gray and brown, and I don't remember the story being very much fun, and I didn't really like the combat that much, and the VAT system I thought was like kind of boring, and like I said, I did like 100% this game, but I was kind of like, after I was done. I didn't really want to play any more Fallout games. I wasn't ever going to buy another Fallout game again. That's how I felt after playing this. So the fact that like I picked up Fallout 4 at a yard sale and then played it and gave up on it's not surprising. I found this at a yard sale just like maybe a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago. Normally I would just trade something like this, but apparently this is supposed to be fairly good, and it's kind of sought after. It's kind of a high-priced game for a budget garbage game. It's Family Feud, and you can see here it was 26 bucks used when somebody bought this. This is just like the video game version, I guess, of the game show Family Feud. I don't know how this is going to be. Maybe it's really fun, like co-op multiplayer or something. I don't know if it has multiplayer. It says co-op 2 to 4 players. Maybe it'd be fun to play with my family. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know why I kept this. I picked this up basically for a DLC pack they did to Far Cry 3. Far Cry 3 had this like weird zany DLC thing called Blood Dragon, which was like a cheap late 80s, early 90s action movie that I thought was a lot of fun and really cool. So I got the Far Cry compilation, which has Far Cry 2, which I've never played, Far Cry 3, which I have played, and then Blood Dragon, which I also played and enjoyed. But they're all on here. And so the Far Cry games are like Assassin's Creed, if Assassin's Creed was a first-person shooter set in a jungle. That's how I feel about them. And they've gotten really stale over the years. I've played a bunch of them, and I'm really tired of them. I didn't play Far Cry 4. I didn't play Far Cry 6. I played Far Cry 5. Maybe I'll try Far Cry like 7 when it comes out. I feel like I'm on an every other or every third one kind of release schedule now because they're just like, they get a little boring. The gameplay's always the same. But Blood Dragon really did stand out. Here's the original Far Cry 3 that I picked up when it came out. It's weird that I own 2 copies of this game, but oh well. I had this long time before I had that other one. I mentioned this earlier. There were a lot of like horror-themed shooters during this time period, and this one came out on the Xbox 360. I never played it on the 360. I played it on the PC and beat it and really enjoyed it. It's Fear, and Fear stands for something really dumb. First Encounter Assault Recon. There you go. It's a first-person shooter with bullet time, and it has like a lot of atmospheric horror in it. Fear, when I played it on the PC, was pretty scary. I enjoyed playing it a lot. I'm looking forward to playing the sequels, which I've never played. And here they are. Fear 2, which I'm sure is more of the same, and Fear 3, which I'm sure is also more of the same. Like I said, never played the sequels. They're in the backlog. I'll get to them when I get to them. This has budget game written all over it. I picked this up at GameStop pretty cheaply. It's been in my co-op backlog for like a decade and no one will play it with me. It's the first Templar. I don't ever hear anybody mention this game. It's still got this old nasty sticker on it, but I think it's just like a hack and slash co-op game. I don't know, man. It says here, let's read what the review says. Official Xbox magazine. I'm sure they're not biased about Xbox 360 games. The first Templar is already shaping up to be an interesting entry into the formerly non-existent 13th century action RPG genre. You're telling me it's shaping up to be an interesting entry in a genre that has no other entries? Of course. This is supposed to be pretty bad. Hope somebody will play this with me one day. I really want to play it. I like racing games. I'm not big on like racing sims. I tend to prefer like arcade racers, but I played this one and I enjoyed it a fair amount. It's Forza 2. It's the one and only Forza game I've ever played. It was hard. I mean, the driving requires a lot of precision that, you know, I just don't have. But I did think this was a pretty decent game, and I put some good time into Forza. Of course, it looks beautiful on the Xbox 360, so it was some nice eye candy if you like cars. Here's one that I've played like twice, and I keep forgetting that I've played it. I've never finished it. It's not a very good game, but it's kind of like, felt like it was almost a, how should I say this? It was trying to like rip off Bioshock, where it needed like, every first-person shooter needed some sort of like special mechanic. And in this one, you can like raise and lower the ground. Like you can change the elevation of the ground to like create cover or create a ramp up to a new area. It's Fracture. And like I said, this one was like not great, and nor was it very memorable. I can't believe it was done by like LucasArts, or maybe it was just published by LucasArts. This is not a great game. I just paid a couple bucks for it. But I've heard a few people mention it as a hidden gem. I don't know that they're right. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. There's going to be a part 2 of this that's going to come out in 2 days. So this video is coming out on Saturday. Part 2 will come out on Monday. There's going to be a part 3 that'll come out the following Wednesday. Like I said, there's a lot of Xbox 360 stuff here. It's one of my biggest collections and one of my favorites. If you really enjoy the content, consider becoming a channel member. For just 99 cents, you can get early access to videos, and if you want to spend a little bit more, you can get your name read at the end of a video, get access to members-only videos, and even sponsor part of a video. I'll catch you guys next time.